Can we work together effectively with the Europeans on the military side of things, or is it better to say this whole thing's a fantasy and to make sure NATO's the right route for doing things?
There's no doubt that NATO is the way we should be dealing with this situation. And NATO is coming much more into its own than it's been for a long time now in response to this. I think the EU has been, of course, they've done a few quite good things in relation to Russia, including sanctions, etc. But they've also tried to use this crisis to, in a very cynical way, I think, to try and set up this European Defence Union, which people like Macron have been pushing for a long time. And unfortunately, they're trying to absorb Britain into that as well. My view is that the EU should keep out of the military sphere, should work through NATO. And certainly there's no way that Britain should even contemplate taking part in the EU Defence Union.
And yet, Richard, you know, as well as I do, that there are some senior figures in the British military who think we should be a part of this.
I've no doubt there are. And I know for a fact that there are many senior figures in the civil service who wish us to be part of it, those people who opposed and still oppose our leaving the EU. And I'm afraid to say that Liz Truss, the Foreign Secretary, and no doubt the Defence Secretary as well, are being badly advised by many of those civil servants and briefing them that they should be going more into cooperating with the EU on defence. And we've seen comments by Liz Truss, for example, alluding to the fact that she might consider it. And I think it's a fundamental mistake, because what it does, it drags us into a never-ending bureaucracy and undermines NATO. It takes away what NATO is trying to do. And it's all about just the EU aggrandizing itself. It wants to be a superpower. It knows that having a defence force is necessary to be a superpower. And that's what it's all about. It's been working on this for years and has seized this opportunity now to try and push it forward.
That's exactly what they're doing. And, of course, this was the European army denied by Nick Clegg so many times. But, hey, we knew the truth of their ambitions. Just quickly back to NATO. You know, Biden did NATO enormous damage last year, that withdrawal from Afghanistan without reference, without consultation with his partners. Is he putting NATO back together again?
I don't think Biden is doing anything. I mean, we saw his statement, his comments today, and I agree with you when you said earlier that he should be here in Europe and he should have been here before. But he also made a number of gaffes, one of which I detected, which was when he was asked about NATO's response to chemical weapons, he said, we will trade like for like, which of course we won't do. And it's very misleading. I'm sure it was a mistake on his part, but we can't afford to have that sort of mistake from the leader of the free world. So I don't think anything he can do will really put NATO together again. I think NATO is doing that. No doubt the US government, but also countries like Britain in particular, which has taken, I think, the strongest lead of any country in the world in confronting Russia. So I think that NATO is coming together, but it's probably in spite of Biden rather than thanks to Biden.
Yeah, you're right about his gaffes, of course, early on, even before the invasion began. He said, well, if it's just a minor incursion, that may be OK. And a final thought on Boris Johnson. Is this a moment where he's shown decisive leadership?
I think he has. I think there's no question about that. And I think that's illustrated by Putin today saying that Britain is, or Johnson himself, is public enemy number one for Russia. That I would take as a real badge of honor, in the same way as, Adolf Hitler hated Winston Churchill. I'm not saying that Johnson is Churchill, but I think in this moment he really has stepped up and has led the reaction to Ukraine, led the world reaction, as well as Britain's very strong and effective reaction.